So this video we're going to go over the Suburban, not the Suburban, that I want to use on the Suburban, not the Suburban. Well, you know they say a clean shop is a sign of a sick mind. This is about as clean as mine will ever be. So maybe I'm not too sick. Or maybe I am. Let's take a look over here. Okay. Well, this is my new project. It's a 2001 GMC 3500. It's a 5-window Thomas-built short bus on a 1-ton van chassis. So am I sick in the mind? I have a lot of plans for this. That little piece of paper I showed you, that's my rough sketches of everything I do. I have rough sketches for the Suburban, and things changed as I went along. Hopefully, this new project will stay pretty true, because the things that I want to do are going to make this bus pretty rad. Ooh. Hey y'all, it's Brandon. So from the introduction, you can see my new project. I wouldn't say the Suburban is done by any means, but I also feel like it's done enough that I can move on to something else. And the reason I want to move on to something else is because I'd like to get the whole family camping. I wish I could be like Trove One and then everybody just pile in the Suburban and do their thing, but it don't work that way here. So my wife and kids, or my wife and girls, they refuse to use a vault toilet. And it'd be real hard to put a toilet in the Suburban. I didn't want to buy a camper, so the bus is probably the next best thing. Now I wish I could have got a semi-chassis bus, but this is what was in my price range. And to get it in my price range, it does not run. It hasn't run in 5 years at least. The oil change says the next oil change was in April of 2019. It's April of 24 now. I may have bit off more than I could chew. So this video, we're gonna go over the bus, kind of explain my plans. All right, well, I always do these goofy little sketches for my builds, and it usually consists of sitting here looking at graph paper, drawing stuff out for 6 months. Well, I didn't quite have 6 months to do this, but I've taken a little bit of time, and I think I figured out everything I want to do. So I'm going to go over the stuff, and if you have any questions about it, or you think that it will not work, please comment. Let me know. Tell me why it won't work, why I should do something else, and we'll talk about it. Look at my terrible handwriting. You probably can't read it, so I'll have to translate these hieroglyphics. All right, so I'm gonna start out here at the rear of the bus like I did the Suburban. So the rear of the bus, you see I want to design a bumper just about like I did on the Suburban. I want to trim the sides like I did on the Suburban. I want to swing out, and I'll explain the reason why I want to swing out here in a little bit. So like I said, I want to do a swing out on the rear bumper just like on the Suburban, and I will put a table on it. This is a little secondary swing out for water or gas. May not happen. I may just do a single swing out. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the cutaway chassis for the GMC 3500 has a 50-gallon fuel tank. I may be wrong, but I believe it has a 50-gallon fuel tank. I don't think I will ever need to put fuel cans on the back. So my thinking for the back of the bus is this is going to be the kitchen. So you see all these little trailers that have like a kitchenette in the back of the trailers because they're not big enough to have a kitchen inside. Well, this bus is going to be the same way. It's not going to be big enough to house a bed, a bathroom, shower combination, a kitchen, and seats for 2 adults and 3 kids. Now the driver don't really count there, I guess, because the driver's got their own seat, but I still have to have seats for all the kids and possibly kids that want to go with the kids. So that's going to be keeping quite a few seats. So the driver's seat, and then I'm probably going to keep 2 rows of bus seats in the very front. I may not, I may offset it. We'll talk about the interior later, but so this is the reason why I'm doing the kitchenette in the back. As you can see, I have a table that comes off of the swing arm, and I would like to split the rear door. That'll be like the drawer system in my Suburban. I can pull stuff out of there, and my pantry and stuff will be there, or the refrigerator will be there and slide out. As you can see here, and slide out coming out the back door. But I want the top portion and the bottom portion to swing separately, if that makes sense. One of the big things with taking the wife and girls is comfort. So I'm going to do a mini split. I don't know if I'm going to do a 12, a 24, a 36. You know, I don't know much about the electric part of a schoolie. I'm learning though. So moving on from the swing out, we got the mini split. I would love to replace these big flashing lights up here with some type of floodlight, because backing this thing up in the woods is going to be hard enough, and then if you can't see, it's really going to be hard. Not saying that I'm going to take the bus on trails that I would take the Suburban on, but to get to some campgrounds, I may have to, not campgrounds, campsites, I may have to drive down some forest roads. I think the bus will do it, hopefully. All right, we discussed the split rear door. Another thing I'd like to do is do a 270 awning. Now, it's going to be a big awning. I would like to be able to go down the whole passenger side and swing around the back. That way, everything on the back and the passenger side would be under roof. So, more outdoor living, because the short bus is not a big bus. So that would be like where we set up our chairs and our table and stuff, and then the back would be like the kitchenette. All right, underneath the awnings, say above the back windows, I want some amber or red so they don't draw the bugs like white lights do. All right, so all that's kind of different for a schoolie. But where I'm really going to go different is I want to run the 33s that are on the Suburban now. I want to buy another set of those, put them on the dually wheels. I want to keep it dually, put it on the dually wheels, and put the bus on 33s. Well, that's really not that big, but I think it'll be big enough to do any trail, aka Forest Service road, that I want to do. As you can see, it's already got, right now it's got the 14-bolt rear end, and it's got 410 gears. I plan on changing those to 488s, and I'd like to put a locker in the rear. It'll probably be a little lunchbox locker, but I still at least want a locker in the rear, because I do plan on taking it on longer trips, off-grid, you know, maybe multiple states out west, possibly Baja, maybe not, but maybe a trip to Canada or Alaska would be in the cards if I get the thing running good. So I at least want a locker in the rear. And since I love the sound of the 5.3 with the Dynomax muffler and exhaust, I believe I want to do a Dynomax on the bus. So the bus with the 5.7 should sound pretty good. Let's go on the next page. All right. As you can see here, I got a side picture. Let's start at the front, and I'll go clockwise around just like I did before. All right. So I'd like to do a winch bumper on the front. And I would like to do the same winch that I have on the Suburban, the open road winch. That would be plenty for the short bus. Moving on from the winch and the bumper, let's go on to, in the front, I would also like to take out those flashing lights there and put some LED spotlights in it. Now I'd love to have some of these big 9-inch light cannons or, you know, laser lights or whatever, but these big spotlights, I don't know, I've always just thought if I had a bus, I would replace those lights with some type of big spotlights. So now's my chance. I'm still trying to decide on this here. So they make the flexible panels I see on a lot of semis now. They put them on top of the sleeper, on top of the fairing, and they seem to hold. Will flexible solar panels give me as good of a charge as rigid solar panels? I don't know, maybe it's a question you can answer. All right, from there, I'll take the broken escape hatch, put in a vent fan, or maybe a skylight that you can open. Haven't decided yet, but the vent fan would definitely be more useful. Now you notice I don't have anything, no solar panels on the back part of the bus. And there's a reason for that, but I've not made up my mind yet. So I'm gonna leave enough room on the back of the bus to put a rooftop tent if possible, if my budget allows, or if somebody wants to send me one. But I do want to leave room for a rooftop tent just in case there's not enough room for mine and my wife's bed here in the back and the kids to sleep here. I've not decided on the interior yet, so I don't really know what I want to do. I kind of thought about hanging hammocks, making the kids sleep in hammocks inside the bus, or I could do something that plugs into some receivers on the side of the bus and they can sleep outside the bus underneath the awning. I don't know, but we'll talk about that later. All right, moving on from the empty space, again, floodlights for the backup lights back here. The mini split, I put 12 volt here because I'm comfortable with 12 volt. I know about it. 24 volt or 36 may be better. I don't know. You can kind of see here my swing out, and I'm showing that I'm going to cut 6 inches off the bottom skirt all the way across, and that will make the bus body even with the truck or the van body. I really don't like the way the van body comes down and the bus body drops down like 12 inches, and you know, it's just a skirt. It does nothing. So I can cut that off and that's not going to bother anything. All right, again, the 14 volt with the 488s and a locker. I'm saying a 6-inch lift. I don't know. I have a set of 3/4 ton leaf springs over here in the shop, and I may stack those 3/4 ton leaves underneath the factory leaves. Okay, so I thought about doing a shackle hanger from Off-Road Design on the back to give it the lift. I've not decided on that yet. That shackle flip kit is quite expensive. I could probably make it. I want to go with not a 261 transfer case. I'm probably going to go with a 241. And the reason being, if I do the 261 for the front, I will have to get a slip yoke eliminator for the front drive shaft. Maybe not, but it probably would be best to put a slip yoke eliminator and a drive shaft like I did in the Suburban. Oh, we've not talked about that. I plan on making this 4-wheel drive. So the Dana 60 you've seen me get, the Dana 60 that's sitting in the driveway that everybody thinks I got for the Suburban, I did not. I got the Dana 60 for the bus. Okay, so now that we talked about that, like I said, the 241 transfer case, it comes with a yoke on the front drive shaft. That way I don't have to buy a slip yoke eliminator for the 261. Now the 261 may be a stronger case, but in the GMT 400s, I believe the 241 was behind the 1-ton trucks. So it should be plenty strong enough. And there may be options for the 241. Aftermarket options, I don't know. I've not looked into it that much. I'm just trying to get it going. All right, I would really like to put a lower low range box in front of the transfer case. Now, if I can get lower gear sets for the transfer case, that may not be a big deal. And the reason for that is if I go to Canada or Alaska or Baja, out west anywhere that there will be some extreme grades on gravel. And to save the automatic transmission that's in the bus, which is a 4L80, so it's pretty stout transmission, but it's 4L80. To save it, I would really like to have a low range, so when I have to use four-wheel drive off-road, I have that option. All right, from the low range box, I'm looking at the sliders. So what I want to do, I want to do sliders from one end all the way to the other. I would like to have this part kick out and act as a step to get in. And of course, we'll do sliders on the back half, kind of like I did on the Suburban. All right, and then of course I'm going to have to get drive shafts, because I believe this drive shaft, the rear drive shaft right now, is a two-piece drive shaft. I was underneath it yesterday and I can't remember, but I believe there is a two-piece drive shaft. I'd like to make it a single piece, and the Dodge drive shaft that I have here is probably not going to be long enough, especially if I put a low range box in front of the 241. Now, I've been looking at the Behemoth low range boxes, and oh my goodness, those are amazing pieces of work. But again, that's a little out of my price range. But it don't hurt to dream, right? So yeah, I'd like to have a Behemoth box in front of that transfer case. That'd be awesome. All right, the drive shafts, I will probably just have the local farm shop do my drive shafts, because I don't trust my welds enough and I have no way to balance it. So it'll probably have to go to a local farm shop. So the Dana 60 is out of a 99, I believe it was a 99 Dodge 3500 with the V10. So Dana 60 in the front, I'm gonna do the 14 bolt in the rear. The lug patterns are the same, it's just the Dodge has a little bigger hole, a little bigger. All right, again, 33s. All right, let's go back here and talk about, what was I gonna talk about? I don't remember. Dana 80, drive shaft, sliders. Oh, well, I don't remember. So, next page. Oh, let's look at the front here. All right, you can see I've got the Dana 60 drawn in, 33-inch tires, and 488s in the Dana 62. I'm going to do that. I do not think I'm going to put a locker in the front, unless you guys think I need to. Now, if somebody wants to send me a locker, you bet I'll do it, but I don't think I'll need it. But we can talk about that. We can discuss that in comments. Do I need a locker in the front if I'm going to put a locker in the rear? I'm not a rock crawler. Again, the winch on the high clearance bumper, I'd like to use the open road winch like I have on the Suburban. That's been really good. I like it. All right, again, the 270 awning on the passenger side and the very back. Camp light, red or amber. We talked about that. The vent fan. All right, here's something we've not talked about, is a third eye window. So, on a bus, if you can put a window here in the very front that aligns with the aisle, it'll make it feel way more open in there. So if I can do like a third eye window there, I will. I believe the front of my bus is fiberglass. That may not be possible without me screwing it up. I don't know. All right, move on from the window. We'll go to the spotlights again. I said 7 to 9-inch, but I believe those are 9-inch lights. Hold that thought. All right, there is an LED light for the front or the back. See here, brand new LED. Kind of nice. So it looks like they're 7-inch. So 7-inch spotlights instead of 9-inch. 7-inch lights it is. 7-inch spotlights, that will open the door for a couple more options that I didn't think about earlier because I thought I would need 9-inch. And if you look for 9-inch LED spotlights, there's only a few companies. With these spotlights, I may possibly even do a light bar across the top of the windshield. There should be room for it there. I like lights. I'm scared of the dark. I do not like the dark. Well, the dark don't bother me that bad, but I do like to have lights for a little better driving experience. I would like to put ditch lights on the side to get some lights out away from the front of the vehicle and along the edge of the road. I believe every vehicle should have ditch lights. I don't care if it's a truck, a car. If you go off-road and you go off-road at speed down gravel, you should have ditch lights. Even on the highway, I run my ditch lights. because if you know Missouri, you know there's a lot of deer. Those ditch lights have saved me a bunch of times because I could see the deer coming from the tree line across the highway. Without the ditch lights, I wouldn't have seen them until they got to the road. So, ditch lights. I would like to get rid of these junky old, I guess halogen glass headlights, the 5x7s. I'm gonna replace those with LEDs. I've heard for the 5x7s are pretty good lights. And there's plenty of companies now that make LED headlights that I should be able to find a good pair reasonable. All right, back to the high clearance bumper. All right, now let's talk about the bad. All right, so the bad. Really, the only thing bad that I can see is some of the fiberglass on the front shell is cracked. The screws to fasten the fiberglass to the top of the cab above the windshield, those are stripped out, kind of rusted out. So I'll probably have to end up putting in some rib nuts, which is no big deal now that I got the rib nut thing. So that's not a big deal. The thing that's probably going to be the toughest is that the 5.7 liter 350 does not run. It is a 2001 model with the 350. So it's a weird generation between the throttle body and the multi-port injection. I believe they call it spider injection. I talked to the mechanic for the church that this bus came from. He's a really knowledgeable guy. He works for a forklift repair company, and he knows his stuff. Well, here's what he told me. Very vague, kind of scares me. He says, no spark, no fuel, won't run. So that's what I have to go by. Has no spark, no fuel pressure, and it never even tried to crank. So I assume he squirted ether down the intake and it wouldn't even fire. So we'll see if I can figure it out. And maybe he knows what's wrong with it and he's just waiting on me to figure it out. I don't know, but we'll see. So this build, I'm not only building a vehicle, but I'm also going to try to focus on building my YouTube channel and making my videos better than they were with the Suburban. I know they say consistency is key, so I'm probably not going to do every week like I did for the Suburban. That's just really not feasible, but I'll figure out what I want to do and let everybody know. All right, y'all, that's the bus build. Tell me what you think in the comments. If you don't mind, like, subscribe, and share. Look back at some of my Suburban videos if you've never watched me before. The Suburban is a solid axle swap Suburban. I use it for four-wheeling and camping, kind of an Overland style thing. If you don't mind, watch some of them. And stay tuned for this project. I think it's going to be a smoker when it's done. All right, I appreciate y'all. Have a good one.